back. So this is the original cover, polished up very nice. You probably think it's a mark on my videographer's lens, but this is accurate as a electron distributor electronic ignition is. You set it by a light, you turn it, and a light comes on when you're at the proper before top dead center, which is 29 degrees for the Norton. Besides, I just wasn't comfortable with that completely, and I wanted to be able to time this with a timing light. So I know it was tough for me to cut that hole, but I did it. I drilled a hole here, and obviously before I put this on, I made marks on the stator and rotor, which by the way are brand new Lucas 3-phase stator, a high output 3-phase stator. But I made marks on them at top dead center and easy to see one at 29 degrees before top dead center. So this is timed with a timing light. And that's what that plug is, if you're curious about that. The breather line, when I had the motor apart, most of you Norton guys will know that back pressure is what kills these things. In the crankcase, it blows oil out and messes up things. So there's been a long process to how do you cure that. Well, there are companies that make a little reed valve that sticks right on here, but that's really not, and they work great, but they don't look all that nice. It's a kind of modern looking thing sitting there. So I ran this back just like it was originally, and there's a picture of it in the gallery. It runs up to a reed valve up under here, a one-way valve. So when the pistons go down, it blows out, there's no back pressure. It blows it into the oil tank, which has its own breather on it. It blows it in there, and then when the pistons go up, it shuts off. So they're not pulling, it's not just free breathing back and forth. It creates a little bit of a negative pressure in the crankcase to keep it oil tight. And this one, so far, it doesn't have many miles on it, but it's oil tight right now. And I'll mention one other thing about when I rebuild things like this. For instance, this cover right here, when I had the engine apart, I'd take the case. I've got a piece of 1/2-inch plate glass in my shop, and I'd take this side of the engine, and I'd put down some wet dry, 400 grit, and wet it. And you rub the engine cover on that till you get a nice uniform matte finish on that. Well, you do the same with this, and then you dry fit it before you put it on to make sure that you get full contact. Always new fasteners, and then the high quality gaskets from Andover Norton, excellent gasket. And then this whole bike is built with Hylamar. If you guys aren't familiar with it, some of you are. It was developed by Rolls-Royce, I think pre-World War II, but they used it on all their aircraft engines. That's how they assemble things with. It's a gasket cement, a non-hardening gasket cement. It's blue. So everything has that on it. And of course, in white clean, but you don't see it. But that's why one of the reasons this is pretty oil tight for a Brit bike. All the joints have been, even up here when I do just little caps and all that. Everything's put in there with Hylamar on it. Here's the center stand. You'll if you look at the gallery, you'll see a beautiful original center stand is a cast iron affair. I've cut off the pipes that were added on for the N15 and recontoured it like it was so it rolls. When I started, you might not be able to hear me. I've got the spring adjusted, so when you roll off your center stand, this will automatically go up and lock very snugly in its perch. You probably have bikes where they don't do that and they're trying to kick them up around things. So that is a nice feature. Then this, it's just a regular side stand, but I had my welder, I welded on an extension here with the ball on the end. So when it's up, this sticks out nice and straight, but it's just enough for you to tow it down for a side stand. And when I come back from the ride, I'll put on a side stand. But that works great, tucks up out of the way very nicely. Let's see where we're back. Oh, I know, I was going to say, the side cover here, it has the electrics in it. It's a Phillips screw that I changed. The other side is the heat shield is a Phillips screw, the same one to match. But this, obviously, if you're out on the road and you needed to get in there for some reason, you don't have a Phillips screwdriver on you. I elongated one of the lines, so a dime or a penny will fit in there just as easily. So you can always take this cover off if you need to. Whenever I had nuts shown, that's what they were originally, and so I had those shown. Some places it wasn't, I couldn't do that. So where I have bolt heads, I use stainless bolts, but then I turned them. You can see that there's a machine turning on these. It gets off all of the lettering and numbering on them, telling you what they are. And it just makes it blend in better. You don't see the end of, it doesn't look like a regular bolt. So around here, when you look, you'll see some things where I've turned them. And those are stainless bolts to do that. I'll go back to under the tank. When you're comparing, if you do compare this to an N15 or to an Atlas, whatever, the ignition coils on some, like on Commandos, they're visible right here. Some of the bikes have them visible back here. Two separate coils. Well, with the Tri-Spark ignition, I also got their Tri-Spark 2-into-1 high voltage coil. So the underside of this has a huge cutout on it. So I had room up there I didn't want to waste. So I've tucked the coil right up here, and you can see I'm an NGK guy. I like Champions too, but NGK plugs, and then I got the NGK caps, and I got the right ones. A 90 wouldn't work, and neither would a 180, so I got a 120. It fits this exact, keeps this off of everything. It doesn't touch anything, and of course you see the NGK was a nice touch there. So the coil is housed up in there. You heard the horn. That's up at the front here. That's a Hella horn, H-E-L-L-A. Very nice, super loud horn. The original one sat right here. The big 4-inch thing that sat right there. Took away so much from the design of the motor on that. So got those. Also, the original head steady was a piece of angle iron that came from the bolted to the top of the head down to here, just visible right here. So besides not looking good, it obviously didn't work very well. So up under here, you'll see that I fabricated, I had my machine shop do it, fabricated a 3/16 plate steel head steady. It actually steadies it in 6 directions. It's up, down, side to side, front, back. It bolts tight on this and then bolts to the main backbone of the frame. So incredibly strong on that. I think we're doing pretty good. We've got the electrical set, the brakes. I think we're pretty much set. So I think what I'll do is I'll start it up for you, and you can hear it, a cold start on it. And oh, I was going to say one other thing about the Tri-Spark. The reason I went with Tri-Spark, it offers several advantages, like the timing, the light. It has a self-test feature. When you're testing it, it has certain lights that